Up, everybody, and welcome to the Wait What Are We Talking About podcast, episode 194. My name is Bret, aka Enigma9011, and you can catch this podcast live over on twitch.tv/Enigma9011. You can drop a follow over there. You'll get notified when we go live. Join the chat, all the fun and discussion over there. But if you can't catch live, that's a-okay. Go over to YouTube and podcast services the very next week, where it's broken out topic by topic and put as one big video in MP3 for your amusement on the following Friday. Last but not least, any way you can support the show, like, share, subscriptions, reviews, whatever it is. It may seem small, but does help the channel grow. So if you take the time to do that, we would love and appreciate you for it. So, jumping into topic one today, we're going to be talking about Extra Life as of recording. We did it last weekend. We had a very successful year. We raised $1,055 this year. Thank you so much for all of your support, whether you tuned in, whether you donated, obviously, or you just shared the link so you could get the word out there. Much appreciated. It's crazy to see, obviously, how we've grown over these past 8 years of doing it, where, like, the first couple of years, it was so difficult to even reach like a $500 goal, and that took the whole time. And to see, obviously, the leaps and bounds in terms of progress and what we're doing here, how it flows, how the reception is. It's crazy to see the amount of progress we've made, and it's great to see that we're doing good things. We're helping a lot of people with these events each year. So thank you for your support with that. As usual, Moose is here, but no, per usual, just want to do a quick chat about Extra Life, just what I thought about this year's event, what went well, what didn't go well, have an open discussion with you guys. Obviously, if you guys have any feedback, whether you're tuning in live or checking this out later, what did you think of the event? What did you like? What did you not like? What could change, in your opinion, for the better? Stuff like that, kind of a open floor discussion. But let's jump on into it with the first big change of this year was the schedule difference. So in years past, over the 8 years we've done it, we've done a Saturday 12 noon until Sunday 12 noon, where we'd have guests come over from like 12 to midnight on the first leg of it, do games there. More recently, starting at midnight, we'd do some online games with some out-of-town friends for a little while. Then it would go through the late wee hours of soloness, joined by a lady and the parents back in the morning, and kind of hit the tail end there. This year, we decided to take a gamble, try something different. So we went Friday night, 8 p.m., until Saturday night, 8 p.m., and that was our 24-hour span. So the thought there was get the tough part out of the way of the solo wee hours slog, I guess you could call it, and then jump into on the later half with friends coming in and have them, obviously them being fresh, have their energy kind of help guide us to the end and have a more high energy conclusion in comparison to the previous plan. And I think that actually worked really, really well this year. I was very optimistic about it just because, once again, like I said, we'd have that upswing of people coming in person, having their energy there. That would help pick me up and not allow me to kind of fall into this low energy pit, or if necessary, I could have stepped away and at least there would have been people there to kind of take over control, take the ship, fly the ship, whatever you want to say. So I was optimistic about it. It wasn't until maybe the day before, especially the day of, that the panic started to set in and the worry started to set in. Now, this obviously could have just been, oh, this is something new. The nerves kick in there. You're worried, all that stuff. But it was like, how is this going to work out in terms of my tiredness level? Because obviously, with the new schedule, works, like I said, ideally with the energy of people coming in. Also benefits me where it's more attuned to a normal sleep schedule where I'm going to sleep at night if we end at 8 p.m. compared to ending at noon and then having to sleep the whole day and then try and get back into routine for the next week, if that makes sense. This would fit that better. However, going into it, how do you get into that schedule, or rather make yourself ready to be up all night to then go forward with that? And yeah, that was when the worry started setting in of like, uh-oh, am I going to be screwed the next morning because I haven't prepared enough to do this overnight without getting stuck, tired, whatever it was. So there was a few things I tried definitely to try and help alleviate that situation. I did try and sleep in the day before, or rather the day of. So that Friday morning, tried to sleep in a little bit, and then also tried to take like a little power nap beforehand. Success rate there, not so great. I mean, I did sleep in a little bit, which was nice. But then that power nap, I think I got maybe an hour, 45 minutes. I don't know. It seemed like a long time in terms of like the hurry up and wait type feel. But it wasn't that great of a nap. Like I kind of just zoned the entire time. I never fell asleep fully. But it seemed to have worked. It worked well. We had a blast at the start with our kickoff, which Lady and I played Fortnite. Papa Griff was very kind enough to make some trivia for us and Mrs. G, who was joining us, excuse me. And then when it got into those later hours, we still did the Crazy Among Us group of the out-of-state friends, which kudos to them for popping in. I know we had a lot of invites out there, but the people who showed up, MVPs, I appreciate them taking the time out of their days, especially with it being a later schedule. So we jumped to that, and then when it got into the solo hours, wasn't all that bad. I think we hit a little bit of a rough spot around like the 3 to 7 a.m. block, which makes sense. It's late. We hit a bit of a rough spot there, but I didn't really need, quote unquote, anything or turn towards like the caffeine until like 6 a.m. Had my first energy drink there. Didn't down it or anything, but kind of started nursing it, sipping it there. And that helped, I think, really push me past that point and kind of not coast, because that sounds bad, but get to that point when the in-person company started arriving, and then it was smooth sailing from there. I felt normal, for lack of a better term. So I think it worked out. I think it worked out really well. I hope you guys enjoyed it, jumping in, starting at an evening time. Obviously that night shift is a bit different, or a bit difficult to tune into. For those of you who were part of my late night crew, I really appreciate you guys obviously bouncing your energy to me with chat. That helps out a lot, especially not being completely alone. So I had a few late night warriors who stayed up with me, so I appreciate them heavily for being the support during that time. And then when the morning hours did roll in, and eventually those afternoon hours, it was smooth sailing from there. Had a great time. Loved seeing everybody who was able to come and join us and play all the crazy and wacky games. So I think, at least obviously off the 1 year we've done it, I think this might be a good schedule to try and think of going forward. Like I said, it's helpful in terms of a normal routine, getting back into it, not being quote unquote dead the next Sunday before going into work. This seemed to work out. Still had a lot of tiredness coming out of it, and that could just be me and my wacky sleep schedule. Not sleep schedule, but how I sleep. Might not be getting the best sleep around, but overall I think it worked out, and those close to me who were planning the event seemed like they liked it too. So we'll see. Maybe that'll be what we do going forward. I still think there's areas for me to improve, which I guess we'll kind of get to as this discussion rolls on. But schedule-wise, we kept it pretty much the same in terms of games, even with the swapped schedule. So, like I said earlier, we jumped into Fortnite first. So it was the fun, chaotic energy there of just any battle royale. But Lady and I jumping into that, we had a good chat as well. The trivia, like I said, MVP Papa Griff for that, for making it. Just the idea he had on his own, putting in the time to making it. Just was a blast to have that element of the quiz show with the donations, that whole thing. It was a lot of fun. So maybe we can make that. I don't know if we want to make that a staple every year, just because that's I need to give that work to him. I can't just be like, oh yeah, make me a quiz. That's going to be a little bit, takes up energy and time on his part. But it was a good addition. Maybe that's something going forward we can keep doing or bring back every once in a while and try and do. Among Us group, like I said, crushed it. That kind of flew by. We did go a little bit overtime, but I think that's something Planning wise, I had a little bit of frustrations with, not to be negative, but like I said, a lot of invites went out, a lot of responses came back, and then to have only some of those responses there, neither here or there. It was a fun time. The group that we played with, we had a lot of new people in there too. Shout out to Seven popping in, Connor and Shay popping in for the first time on stream. They really added a lot to the game. So jumping into Among Us, I think this was the first time I've played it since last year's Extra Life. Jumping back into that, and it was fun. And hide and seek, that chaos is always amazing. So great time there. And then the wee hours, instead of making a hard, definitive plan like I have in the past with like, this 2-hour block is this game, this 2 hours this. For the late night hours, I tried to keep it variety filled just in case I wasn't feeling a game, to try and help that energy level too, so it wasn't like, oh, I'm bored of this game, that's going to bring down my energy level, now I'm going to start feeling sleepy. I felt with the variety that would help, and the first 2 games honestly knocked it out of the park in terms of like keeping the energy up too. So we started with Spin Rhythm XD, which shout out to 6-1 Indie because they did it on their Extra Life. And I had no idea about the game until they played it, but it's essentially a DJ Hero, DJ set Guitar Hero rhythm-based game on the Nintendo Switch. I think it's on Steam as well. A lot of fun with that one, just jamming out to the tunes. Like I said, keeping that energy going from there, of that party mindset. And then speaking of parties, we jumped into a new Battle Royale that just came out from an indie dev. I'm sorry, I can't. Well, no, it's Team 17 who published it. I don't know who developed it. But Headbangers Battle Royale. It's on Game Pass. I believe it's on PlayStation and other platforms as well, but we played on Game Pass. But it's essentially pigeons, and there's 30 players, 4 rounds, and it's all these rhythm-style mini-games. So you do 4 of them trying to be the last pigeon surviving, and there's silly gimmicks that are happening the whole time. You can get bonuses to try and mess up other players, put things on the screen, or mess with the audio. But the game was very entertaining. There was, I thought, like, how can you make a variety of mini games with just this rhythm game mechanic? But they did a very good job. So getting up and around, kind of dancing around with the stupid rhythms that they were doing in the mini games that they have, it was very entertaining. And that chunk of time that I decided to play that really flew by. I think we got 2 wins. Yeah, 2 wins over the night. So that was exciting as well, just to know, oh, I'm actually doing well, and to see the progress as well of like, oh, the first game we only made it 2 rounds. See that over time we got better and better at it in such a short time. It was a lot of fun. I would highly recommend that game, especially if you like the Battle Royales, but you don't like the shooter aspects. Like if you like more of the, Tetris 99, and I think there was a Pac-Man one, Pac-Man 99. Things like that, where it's not bang, bang, shoot, shoot, loot, loot, wait, all that stuff. This was something fun. They're quick, shorter games, and the nice thing about this one, too, is even if it didn't fill up with a full party of 30, it would fill up with bots. So, yeah, the first rounds are a little toss away, but at least it wasn't you're sitting there, similar to other online lobbies, waiting until the party fills up. You could get into it. It wasn't that much of a hassle. And it was competitive, but fun. Good stuff there. After Headbangers, I believe we jumped into Tony Hawk Pro Skater for a little bit. Been kind of on a kick on that outside of stream, just playing that, jumping around. So we did that for a little while. It was fun. Didn't keep the energy up though, so that's when I started to notice a little bit of dip and a little bit of a struggle. So we changed it up by going into Crash Bandicoot 4. Now, if you know anything about Crash, obviously it's very chaotic and can be very difficult in terms of a platformer. At least those first 3, I think I think a few years ago, we did stream the original game, that remaster from the Crash Insane trilogy, and whew, you could see it there, how difficult that was. And initially I had heard Crash 4 was pretty difficult from a former coworker of mine. But jumping into this, it wasn't awful. Like, obviously, if you're going to go for the 100% type stuff that Crash throws at you, like break all the boxes and do it in a time limit, yeah, I'm sure it's going to be very difficult. But for just playing it for what it's worth of, like, just the base game, had a great time with it, had a lot of fun. excited to play more of it on stream, to be honest. But yeah, it had a cool little story that was going with it too. Not that we're paying all that much attention to it, but that was a nice game to kind of roll us over into the morning hours of the following day. And I believe Crash was the last game I had played. I can actually check here because I have all the footage saved. Maybe if I look in the right spot. I think it was the last game before Lady had made her return. Oh, that's a lie. No, we played one more before Lady popped in. Lady was back at this time, but we decided to take a little bit of a break in terms of playing stuff, and we just kind of watched some WWE 2K matches. We did some simulations. We had Survivor Series that weekend, so I set up those matches, the War Games matches, and the single title matches. We did those, we simulated, and we talked about it. And then we did a really fun Royal Rumble. Threw in a bunch of characters and wrestlers that Lady knows, so we were able to, talk about those. We had like 3 or 4 John Cenas in there, so we had a blast just commentating about how they were fighting each other. So that was a fun little break hiatus that obviously I wasn't playing something, so I didn't have to be actively engaged in that. But after that, we jumped into WarioWare Move It. Similar to WarioWares of the past, we played Get It Together the previous year. And Get It Together was a lot of fun. That was more of rapid pace in terms of the characters changing, and each of them have different like mechanics and move sets that you got to learn on the fly and do the mini games with. This was more of a callback to the Wii version. I think it's something WarioWare, I don't recall, but the Wii version where you had the Wiimote and you had to hold it in certain positions, whether it was like a broomstick or an elephant like trunk or whatever it is. This was more akin to it in terms of the move controls. So they used the Joy-Cons in different positions. You had to quickly get to position and then do the quick little mini game to progress through the story, the mini game, whatever it was. And we had a blast with that. Motion controls always are kind of hit or miss if they're going to activate, but we had a lot of laughs, especially for the goofy ones where you're squatting or you're doing a dance for some reason. That was a fun one. I look forward to playing more of that, either on stream or off stream with friends and family. And then the sensation that's sweeping the nation. We had a little bit of a transition here with Fruit Game making an appearance. Suika Game, Lady was kind enough to take over the stream for a little bit as I stepped away, so she played some Fruit Game, kind of chilled with chat and you guys, and then we got our buddy Nolan addicted to it, so Fruit Game is just taking over the world as it was already. And then we jumped into the multiplayer games where we had the the people who are local who were able to make it. So we had Killer Queen Black, which I had a lot of fun with. I haven't played it since 2016. Early on, took a little bit of while for, obviously people getting used to a new game, all the different win conditions, whether it's the military or the economic or the snail, which snail was very popular. Took a little while to get into it, but once we kind of got the ball rolling and we're off to the races. Very competitive, a lot of fun. I'd be interested in bringing this back next year, maybe doing it a little bit later when we do have full teams and could do 4-on-4. I think that'd be a lot of fun. And like I said, it's difficult when it's a new introduction for everybody to pick it up quickly. Like we had it in a 2-hour block. To have that first hour be a learning curve and then to go into it, you're not going to get the competitiveness that you would for your next game, which was also simpler, but we had Spider Hack next. So Spider Hack, I believe, came out this year or last, but it's essentially multiplayer spiders swinging around with guns, explosives, and lightsabers seem to be the primary weapon. You're just doing elimination style. This was going to be our Extra Life tournament for this year. So we did a while where we were just all getting used to the game, playing casual games, and then we jumped into the tournament itself. And when I say this was one of our most intense competitions in terms of the Extra Life tournament, this might have taken the spot. Like, obviously the fighting games of years past have been aggressive. Not aggressive, that sounds have been competitive, but I think it's because it's that one-on-one element and just a lot of flashes on the screens, the moves and stuff like that. This one was a tight race. We did a best of 7. I hope to edit it out for you guys for YouTube if you want to check it out and you missed it. Very competitive. Just really on the edge of your seat with each elimination and as we got to the end. So that was a lot of fun. Maybe I'll have to bring that back next year. So yeah, Family Feud we jumped into next. We did 2 quick games there. That was pretty entertaining as well, seeing some of the answers that would pop up. Ultimate Chicken Horse made its return after many years for kind of a little dinner intermission game as we swapped out. And then we ended with Jackbox as normal. Jumped into the new Jackbox, Jackbox 10. And then we did some trivia of the old ones, wrapped up with some blather around. So we had a good time there. So game-wise, I think everything was good. Like I said with Killer Queen, maybe push that later so it's a bigger group. Spider Hex seemed to be good. Family Feud, we'll see if that makes a return. I think that was more of just something I got a kick out of. But yeah, we'll have to see what party games people want back into the thick of it. Like I know Super Blood Hockey was very popular. Last year. So maybe that'll make a return. Who knows? But the fun, chaotic energy of everybody jumping in, the yelling, the screaming, just having a great time is always a blast. And I appreciate everybody who did come into person to join in with that. So let's talk about, I guess, critiques. Because, like I said, I always try and find not something wrong with it. That sounds bad. But ways to improve it, make it better, all that stuff. Something of note. This year, we really kept it simple. Years in the past, we've done milestones. We get this much donated or raised. We're going to do X, Y, Z, whether it's push-ups, sit-ups, squats, jelly beans, hot pepper Mario Kart, sticker giveaways, video game giveaways, you name it. We've tried it. We've tried thinking of new ideas, and it gets us places. This year, we really kept it simple. We had no fundraising goals, except for let's try and break our record. Last year, we were very fortunate enough to break our record. We have a new record fundraising-wise of $1,625. So that was our big goal here. Minor goal was 1,000. So, hey, we got that. But we didn't do anything in terms of giveaways. We didn't do anything in terms of milestones, any kind of incentive. And to me, it's kind of a relief. And I know that sounds weird because I did have fun doing the milestones. But man, it is tough to think of new things each year and be creative enough to be like, what's incentivizing? But to have people show up, still donate, still show their support, and you see new faces each year that are donating and kind enough to do that. It's nice to know that they don't need that hook. Obviously, yes, I enjoy doing them, and it's nice to have those things of rewarding people who donate. It's just, to me, was a relief of oh my God, this is something I maybe don't have to worry about and stress over all the year of thinking of ideas. To have people still come out, people still donate, still give to a good cause, help out the kids, was very nice. So just a small note there of maybe that's not where I put my energy. Maybe I put my energy into other things to improve those, whether it's the audio, the visuals, promoting the event, stuff like that. Those are the areas that are more important than, okay, let me sit here and stew about ideas of what milestones we can do. So that was just nice. It was nice for me. Like I said, still fun to do. Maybe they'll make a return. But can be more of this back burner idea over here instead of pushing it to the forefront in terms of focus. So we had that. What was I going to... Oh, critiques. So things I think I could do better. Kickoff of the stream was great. Obviously makes sense. You're very excited. High energy. All that stuff. That rocked. Among Us rocked. I think the evening hours went better. Like I said, I had some people who were with me. Chatting with them helped a lot. I think, personally, I need to do better when people are there. And I think this might be my social ability, for lack of a better term. I need to be more on at that point, I feel. Now, I get it. You've been up all night. You've been up, the day before. Totally get that. I don't know. I feel like I need to talk more, interact more, be just more part of everything. I feel like I definitely took a back seat in a lot of this. Now, I know you're like, Bret, you talked about this in the beginning. That was the point of all the people being there. You could take that back seat. Yes, that's fair. It's just me being critical on myself of like, how can I improve? That's all. If it worked, it worked. It's not the end of the world. I just want to try and be better in terms of that, especially towards the end of stream. Jackbox was fun. We had a great time doing it. I still feel like it was a low energy finale. I feel like the finale still needs to ramp up more. Not that it needs to be the peak of our energy, but I feel that's an area I want to improve in. Once again, I understand. We've been going through the whole 24 hours. Some people have been doing 12, however many it is. It's hard to do because there's been a lot of energy dumped out during the whole event, whatever you're doing. It's hard to keep that going, keep that consistent, whatever it is, towards the finale of it. Maybe Jackbox is not that game. Maybe that's just not the correct game. Correct sounds weird, but the appropriate game for that time. Maybe that's something we do at a different time. And, that's been one of our traditions is Jackbox at the end, whether it's the old schedule or the new. Maybe we get rid of that. Maybe we need more of a high energy game towards the end, whether it's a super blood hockey, maybe it's a chicken horse, maybe whatever it is. I also understand people leave towards the end. Like in the old schedule, I know people hung around later, or at least it seemed people hung around later. This one with the swap of schedule, we still had a lot of people leave 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock-ish. So obviously everybody's got their own schedules and lives to do. So whatever they can do, I can't be like, oh, you have to stay more. No, do your thing. But maybe that's something we could finagle, move around, do differently. If we even do Jackbox at all. Maybe swap that out. And then, yeah, like I said, just my own output performance. Like I said, I feel the beginning was great. I feel like once people get there, I shouldn't just meld into the group. I should still stand out, be a host, be a leader there. Not that I need to be in everybody's face being like, you guys should donate, you guys should do this, blah, blah, blah. But at least be more interactive as a host, bring people in who are watching the stream, chat with them, interact with them, make sure they feel involved and not just, I'm sitting here watching something. Very grateful to everybody who did tune in. I hope you had a great time. Open to feedback from, anybody who was there in person, who was online, who watched it, who watched the VOD, whatever it was. I want to hear back from you guys too. What did you like? What did you not like? And yeah, it's weird, but I'm already looking forward to the next one. Obviously, we have a lot of time before that. I say it every time, but I should start planning earlier. We'll see. Everybody says things, and that's a matter of follow through. But yeah, I was really happy with how this year went. Like I said, we did a great job in terms of raising a lot of money to help out the kids. I think the new schedule went very well in terms of just new water or new ground untraveled, undiscovered. I'm rambling at this point. And yeah, I was really happy once again that we got people involved in-state, out-of-state. Very fortunate that I have those groups there that are able to hop in, support, and are willing to do it as well. It just means a lot. It means a lot that it's not just me doing this thing. It's a lot of people lending their support. I can't thank them enough for that. So once again, if you donated, you spread the word, you tuned in for however long you did, thank you. I appreciate you guys doing that and supporting us with us doing these for the past 8 years. If you guys missed out on this year, no worries. There's always next year, year 9. So yeah, just, mark it in your calendar sounds weird, but we have been doing it every Thanksgiving weekend. So if you want to plan ahead, you can tune in then. You can have some fun with us here during that time, and you can help support a great cause. But yeah, that'll wrap up topic 1. So let's move over to topic 2, guys. I wanted to kind of do a little bit of a revisit But also, this was an inspiration. Shout out to Maximilian Dude. He did this recently on his stream. I want to talk about my favorite games of all time. Now, I said this was a little bit of a revisit topic. We talked about or alluded to doing these in the past, with it being solo episode. Gets hard to talk about things or find new topics to talk about. So this is a callback if you want to go back and kind of get the original stuff to episode 59. Yep, that's a ways away. Where I did my top 5 games per year from like 2010 to 2019, something crazy like that. It's not exactly like that. Instead, we are going to be doing my favorite games of all time. We're going to be doing my top 100. Yeah, I know 100 sounds like a lot, but I feel like we're going to fly right through this. So once again, shout out to Maximilian Dude for the inspiration on this topic. We're going to be using topsters.org if anybody wants to make their own list. You got games here, music, books, movies, TV shows. You can customize it to your heart's content. But yeah, we're just going to have some fun, kind of go through the games that I played in my lifetime that I think are like standout ones that I really enjoyed. I am going to be using my keyboard here, so if you hear some clicky clacking, I do apologize. Audio guys, nothing should be wrong or messed up for you guys, but if you want a visual, there's a nice little chart here, and we'll be searching games and putting them in the chart. There is not going to be any kind of specific ranking or list here, so this is not, oh, this was my 100th game, this was my 80th game. No, we're throwing them all in there, top 100, just my favorites, ones that stuck with me over the years, ones I had a lot of fun with, all that jazz. So we're not ranking them. You don't need to worry about what number 1 is. All right, so let's start at the beginning, shall we? Let's think of some early games that Bret played growing up as a child. And I think I'm going to start with at least the first one that I remember as a child playing, and it was a big one, was, for a lot of people, was Super Mario Bros. I didn't personally own it, but when going to... Oh, it's still doing this stupid text. Hold on. When going over to my neighbors and playing it there, display titles? Yeah, we don't need that. There we go, all better. Going to my neighbors, playing it at their house, and just jumping into the Nintendo there, not knowing what any of this was, whether it was Mario Bros, whether it was Duck Hunt. I believe there was a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game they had that I was awful, absolutely awful at. I don't know what else they had, but that sticks in my mind of like that being, if not the first, one of the first games that I had played. Didn't make it very far, don't get me wrong, but jumping into that, like a lot of us, being the first one was great. Learning like the secrets of going up the elevator in the underground zone and skipping levels, and then just me getting smacked because it's way too hard. So that would be a big one for me in terms of like, obviously that's the start of it. Speaking of the start of it, if we're going to go towards the PC side of things... Oh, crap. What was it called? There it is. We got Lego Island. I don't know how many people are going to remember this. Oh, God. Let's see even if the fucking chart thing recognizes it. Oh, it doesn't have it. Oh, okay. There it is. Thank God. So this was another one that I learned from my friend. So shout out to Max. Going over to his house many summers, he had a little bit of a PC set up downstairs. So he had played Lego Island 2 is going to make the chart here, by the way. He had played Lego Island 2, and I was curious, like, what the heck is this? And I just fell absolutely in love with it. So I think it was, what is the kid's name? I remember the bad guy was like Brickster, I think his name was. And you're this little pizza delivery guy. And you are in charge of, you're just delivering pizzas. Brickster breaks out of jail, and you need to go find him. But it's not just simple as like, oh, he's out in the town, you gotta go capture him, all that. No, he like goes back in time and travels through time. So you have to chase him down through these periods of time and bring him back that way. So you go to like the medieval ages, you go to the Jurassic Age, I think you go to the moon at one point, and yeah, just it was a lot of fun. It kind of also had like that open worldness of it where you could drive in the cars or fly different vehicles, and it was silly. It was very silly, but it was a lot of fun. Pepper, of course. He's the pizza guy. Why would his name not be Pepper? Wasn't his last name like Pepper Pizza? Pepper. I don't know if they're going to list it here. But yeah, a lot of fun there. Never played the first one, so I don't know the setup or anything of that for Brickster. But Lego Island 2, shout out to you. You're the real one. Sticking with PC, this one's a little weird just because a lot of people are not going to associate this with the PC. That's not the game I looked up. But shout out to Comic Zone. Oh, did you guys just... No, that was me blocking my own screen. Shout out to Comic Zone. So this was one that originally launched on, I believe, the Sega Genesis. But for me, I played it on Sega CD, I think is what it was. I don't know. It was a bunch of Sega games on the PC. And Comic Zone was a lot of fun. I remember just jumping into this thinking it was crazy how good it looked. You jump through comic panel to comic panel, chasing after like one of the guy's drawings because he got dragged into it. Longest time as a kid, couldn't get very far into it. So it was just replaying the first like level or two. I think there was a spot, it might be the first level, it's like right at the very end. And people, when I describe this, will know it. And they're going to be like, wait, you struggled with that? Yeah, I was a dumb kid. You get to the bottom, you're fighting through all these sewers and whatnot. And you get to this bridge, and there's a gap in the bridge. Okay, jump the gap. Nope, there's this little like flying bat wyvern thing that's just floating there. And every time I would jump, I tried kicking it, I tried jumping over it, I just couldn't get past this piece of shit. So that's where I got stuck, and I would just replay as a kid. Eventually I discovered that they had made a Sega Genesis collection on Xbox 360, and I believe we streamed it. Yeah, I don't remember if we played the game all the way through. I want to say we did, but jumping back into that was just a big nostalgia hit. Playing that all the way through, or at least farther through than we did as a kid, was great. A lot of fun. Comic Zone, shout out to you. I'm going to keep on that same Sega CD for a little while, and let's talk about Shining Force. Now, Shining Force actually was the first game I ever streamed here on Twitch ever, but Shining Force kicked ass. And on that CD, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that was more of a demo, because it might have just been a bunch of demos for the Sega Genesis. Or no, I recall what it was. It was me being a dumb kid and dying once again a lot. So Shining Force was this fantasy turn-based action game, RPG. I don't know, I'm bad with descriptors. But you're this character, you can name him whatever you want, so of course I named him my name. You're the little hero, and you go around town and you like recruit different warriors. You can get Luke, who's a swordsman, you get Ken, who's a centaur, you get, oh, what was the witch's name? She had pink hair. As a kid I had a crush on her, it was weird. Some mage lady. You had your friend who was like a healer or a monk who was like, I think I can help. And then you would go out and you'd fight these, kind of like Pokemon style battles. That might be coming later. Tao was her name. Tao. Sorry, she was the mage. So you do these little fights against dwarves and goblins and whatnot. And eventually you would go to this like castle area. And you would fight this dark knight that's like risen, and he runs away, but he leaves a bunch of lackeys. You fight in this like broken down church or whatever. You fight them, and then you got to quickly rush back to town because the kingdom's been attacked. And you're like, no, all my friends and family. And you get there, the king dies, and you're like, ah, shit. You got to save the day, go take him out before he like kind of conquers the world. But the whole game just was really fun. And once again, being this the first thing we ever streamed here, that was the first time I had played it all the way through. But seeing the amount of characters that you could like recruit in this game, and they're all different, they all got their own personalities, very, very cool. Playing it as a kid, discovering like optional characters you could recruit, like shout out to Gort, who's like this old man axe warrior, who's just drinking his sorrows away in the bar. You can like get him out of there. There's a monk, like traveler, I don't remember his name, but he's just above that decrepit castle I talked about earlier. You can get him. Later in the game, there's like other knights you can recruit and some mages. I think there's a mouse, unless that was Shining Force 2. That might be. But he's in there. Lots of fun. Shining Force 2 is great as well. I don't think I'm going to put it in here, but I had a lot of fun with that. We also played that on stream. Yeah, great game. Great game, Shining Force. Lots of good memories there. All right, and then I think before we continue on to kind of my next era of gaming, we did have the PC gaming, or still had PC gaming at this time. We had Warcraft. Now, I'm struggling here because I did play Warcraft 1, Warcraft 2, and Warcraft 3. No, I don't play World of Warcraft because 1, 2, 3 are my jam. World of Warcraft came out. I was so excited. I was like, more Warcraft. And then it's the not what I expected. And it's the MMO crap. And I'm like, they're never going to make a Warcraft game that I want because WoW just blew up. So I don't know. I definitely got to put 3 in here. I don't know if I'll put 1 and 2. But I remember Papa Griff getting these and showing me them. And then we had another friend, a family friend, Steve, who played them as well. He also played StarCraft, which I tried StarCraft as a kid. That freaked me out. So I was like, nope, I'm going to stick with the fantasy element. But Warcraft 1, 2, 3, I had a blast with. Now, as a kid, I wasn't really paying attention much to the story. I think 3 was the first time I really acknowledged the story. You had this prince. He turned to the dark side because he was kind of arrogant, and then he turned into the bad guy. But for the first 2, it was just humans and orcs. So the first game, there wasn't much to it that I recall in terms of story. I believe the second one, you got like boats and stuff, so you were able to set sail and whatnot. It looks like it, because at least the cover here looks like a pirate, as you can see on the left-hand side if you're watching the video. And then 3 introduced new classes. So you had the humans, you had the orcs, you had the elves, and you had like the undead. And that was a lot of fun just because it added so many characters to it. I mean, they added characters into 2. Like, I believe they added the dwarves in the second one. Or they added like gunners. I don't recall. But man, these games are something else. A lot of fun. I really wish, and if there is, someone needs to tell me, I really wish there was a way that I could play 1 and 2 again. I know I can play 3. I'm tempted. I know they were making the reforged edition of 3. This was years ago at this point. It was like a remaster. They went through and did stuff with cinematics or whatever. Apparently they kind of botched it, so I haven't been as excited to go try it. Now, I've never been an online player with this kind of stuff, so that's not my forte. I know some people are absolutely insane. When I play it against, I think Papa Griff and I played it online via LAN, and then Charlie and I played Halo Wars, which was similar. Most of the time I'm getting my ass kicked, but CPUs, sure, let's go. But if there's a way to play 1 and 2 again, I would love to dive back into those, stream those, know what the story is, stuff like that. Just kind of have that nostalgia trip. I know it's not going to look pretty, but at least it'll be fun. You got all the stupid dialogue lines that they have if you keep clicking them. That was fun. With 3, you could do custom maps as well if you wanted to get crazy and do those. I always loved in 3 just going into... It was kind of like a create a match, but you could pick different maps that they had. There was one, it was 4 corners. So it's a plus sign of essentially. But the trees would line each end of the plus sign. So it was kind of like a secluded area. It might have been 4. It might have been like a star of some kind. I don't know. But what I loved was you're all trapped essentially in your area until, I think it was trees, until the trees were gone and like the other teams didn't interact with each other. But then I just loved building and amassing this army and then just be like, okay, we're going to go after this guy. And we fly over and the Zeppelins all sneaky and you just attack them and you're like, oh, this is going great. Or, oh no, this is awful. That was a lot of fun. Obviously it doesn't have the more stress-induced, like, they can attack at any time, because they were kind of dumb and didn't either break into the middle or do the Zeppelin tactic themselves. But I remember doing that so many times. And also 3 had the heroes, where you could buy like these special, not operatives, but higher ranking people that like had lore into the story. I don't think they kept the same names, so they might have like, rotated around. But I remember the Elven one specifically. There was like a lady on a tiger. There was a big crossbow man with like a wrap around his head so he can see. For the humans, you had this dwarf with a big ass hammer. You had a hero akin to the main protagonist in the main storyline. For the orcs, you had this like bull dude who carried a big like log that he would smack some guys with. Just a lot of fun. I had a blast with it. Maybe I'll look into Reforged now. I'm talking about it. I'm getting all excited again. But Warcraft was amazing. I really appreciate Papa Griff showing me those and diving into those when I did. So let's jump into what would have been my next kind of era of gaming, because at least right now nothing's clicking PC wise. We're going to be jumping around. Right now I'm kind of being nice and going chronological, but we got 95 more of these to fill. So the organization's going to go out the window in a moment. But let's talk about my next venture into gaming. And I talked about the Nintendo, the Super Nintendo being at my neighbor's house. I talked about, obviously, the PC gaming, the limited PC gaming that we did have. But the Game Boy Advance was like my first, this is my console. Very fortunate to get that from some family members. I was moving at the time. They were kind enough to gift me with that, and they gifted me Pokemon Silver as well. And I had seen my cousins and friends play Pokemon Red, Blue, Yellow. Shout out to Charlie. I think we talked about that quite a bit when he was on this podcast. But Silver was my first jump into it. And it was just kicked off pretty much everything, or the rest of my gaming history or like enjoyment out of this. Just having that, raising the Pokemon, going through the strategy of different typings and the gym leaders. And I remember Whitney was such a pain in the ass with her Miltank in this game. Figuring out how to do that, trading with friends, going after the Elite Four, getting smacked left, right, center with them, trying different teams, restarting over and over again. And the nice thing, we've talked about this as well as we've talked about, or when we've talked about Pokemon on the podcast, but having the element of you beat Pokemon Gold or Pokemon Silver, do those 8 gyms, you do the Elite Four there, and then having the opportunity to go back and play through the 8 gyms and the Elite Four of the first game, it absolutely crazy. I'd love if they did that with the more recent game, even if you did just like gens 1, 2, 3. It's not going to happen because it's just a lot of elements to do. But that was crazy at the time to have them do that. Another thing I liked with Pokemon Silver and Gold was just the mechanics they added. You add different typings. You added like Pokemon needing to hold certain items while they were traded and evolved. Something silly that I liked. I liked the little puzzles of the fossils that you could discover for the unknowns. You had the siblings who are named after days. No, they weren't named after days. But like each specific day if you went to a certain area, you could talk to one of these siblings and they would give you an item or give you special things. So it was like something you could hunt for and find. The legendary dogs, when they first arrive, you wake them up and then you can just find them in random areas and run to them at any point, or chasing them down via the Pokedex entries. That was a lot of fun. Shout out to the casino. I mean, that's not really Pokemon centric, but playing the slot machines there was fun. And then eventually those grew into other casino games. That they were a blast. And then day-night cycles. I always hated the night because usually that's when I was playing. I'm like, these Pokemon suck out here. But it was nice. Speaking about Pokemon, let's just get it out of the way. But Pokemon Ruby, this was another one where it just took all of my, not all of my time and energy, but I guess so. I think this was the first game I put 100 hours into. Where are you? No, not Omega Ruby. That's a good remake, but really? Do you not have the... Oh, it's right here. Wait, Pokemon Box? Sure, whatever. We'll throw you in there. But Ruby was another great one. Like I said, I think the first game I put 100 hours to. Up the graphics. You had different mechanics like the berry mixing and the talent shows. That was pretty fun and entertaining. You had new mini games in the casino. Different weather that you could run through. Like you had the frosty mountains where it was snowing. You had the desert. You could dive underwater in this one. It's another great game. Absolutely loved it. Sticking with the Game Boy Advance, another one that's kind of stuck with me in terms of like memorable experiences was Final Fantasy Tactics Advance. Boop. Right there, which we've also been very fortunate enough to stream here. But as a kid, this was another one that was fantastic. We took the elements from Shining Force, so that fantasy turn-based game that we played on the PC, and we brought it into this handheld where it took those elements of fantasy but then mixed it with like real life. So you get your hero, I believe his name is March or Marchie, however you say it, Marche. You can rename him, obviously, duh, like I did. But then you had your two friends, you had Ritz, and you had, what was his name? Because he's really important, because he's kind of the main focus here. Crap, don't remember. But you had your two friends, you just moved into town, they befriend you, and you kind of all share this like love for fantasy. And your friend shows you this book, there's this magic that happens, and overnight you kind of wish for this fantasy world, and you and your friends get like transported. The world transforms into essentially what the book was in this Final Fantasy world. So you meet an ally there, a Moogle named Montblanc, who helps you out, kind of gets you adjusted to the world, and you just, similar to Shining Force, you recruit this army over time, and you're working on getting back home, and you run into your friends, and there's problems, disputes, because they like the fantasy world, but you're like, we need to get home, back to reality. And the story, the way it goes, and learning about the struggles that your friends are going through is very interesting. But for me, as a dumb kid, was always about the recruiting army part and figuring out what classes you needed to upgrade to get even more classes to make your dudes. So like, luckily I had a friend who was playing it who was older than me, shout out to Ryan in the neighborhood. He kind of helped me along. But like, if you wanted a ninja right on your team, you needed to take a human player. Okay, you got to make him a soldier. You got to have him master like 2 soldier abilities, and then you got to make him a thief, have him master 1 ability, and then a new job or class will pop up, and it's the ninja. And then if the ninja learns so many abilities, he could be an assassin. And it's like this whole ladder of different stuff, trial and error, what classes go with what, or what do you need to master in combinations to get stuff. That was exciting. And you had 5 different races that you could do. So you had the humans, you had the Moogles, you had the Numu, which were like Eeyore looking characters, you had the Bonga, which were like dragon guys, and you had, oh, it's something with a V, but they're like bunny lady warrior things. So you had them, and they each had different wheels of jobs and classes that they could take. Granted, there was a few that kind of overlapped, like the human, the Moogle, and the Numu could all be white mages or black mages, but some of them were different. Like I think the Numus and the Moogles were stronger in magic, so they could do different higher based magic classes, while the Bonga and the, it's not Vixen, I don't know, Vera? Whatever they were more warrior based, so they would do more heavy hitting stuff. Just fun to make those combinations, figure those out. So yeah, great game. I did try the second one that was on DS. For some reason, did not connect with me. They did add an extra class. What did they look like? I want to say lizards, but I don't think they were lizards. I don't remember. But I didn't really dive into that one. Maybe that's one I need to give another try. But yeah, just absolutely loved it. I even tried going back, because I like this one so much, to the original Final Fantasy Tactics, because I heard such good things about those ones. I think it was War of the Lions. I tried that out on PlayStation 3 because they had a PS1 classic version of it. Didn't like it because it was like, oh, it's just humans. There's no other guys. I haven't tried Tactics Ogre yet. I know that remaster came out. I think there's different classes there, so I might be a little bit more excited. But yeah, Tactics Advance, shout out to another old episode, would be a game I would I would absolutely love a remaster for that one, if they ever decide to jump into that. So, thinking about the Game Boy Advance, I'm trying to think of other titles that really resonated on there, of like, yeah, that was really good. There was a lot of them. I was very fortunate to have a decent amount of Game Boy Advance games and Game Boy Color, because they worked on both. So like, I remember there was a Power Rangers Time Force game I played on there. There was a Sonic game with the Chow Garden, Sonic Advance, I think it was just simple as that. There was the weird crossover game of Crash and Spyro. I had a different Spyro game where he's on his own. I had some tie-in games with like movies where you had to use the stupid passcodes. If you died, there was no save point, so you had to remember, okay, the passcode is Q2508, and you had to write it down, and if you didn't write it down, then you were never getting back there. Oh, how could I fucking forget? It's another one that wasn't originally on Game Boy Advance, but that's where I played it. We just circle back to the first, my first experience with games, but Super Mario World. Played the shit out of that. Oh, I'm actually going to put this title because that's a better one. Get out of here. Played the shit out of that one on Game Boy Advance. Absolutely love Super Mario World. Jumping into that, obviously the different mechanics of the different suits. You got the cape now, and classics like obviously the Bigger Mushroom, the Fire Flower, Star Power. I think that was all they had. But with this one, I really enjoyed just the secrets you could find. The different paths of the hidden levels. If you did a hidden, or you found a key and then you open a certain door, it would lead to a different finish, which would go to the different path. Most of them had to do with the cape, so you'd be flying around, bobbing up and down, trying to discover where these things were. But I remember it absolutely blew my mind just randomly finding the secret area. I believe it's in the second world, or that second map. But on the very top of the screen, before you get to the castle, if you took a certain path or a secret path, you could unlock this secret area. And there you could get, if you were a small boy, you could get mushrooms, but also you could get fire flowers, you could get the feathers for your cape, and you get Yoshi. But then young Bret learned, oh, if I already have a Yoshi and I go back into this world and I hit that Yoshi egg block again, it's not an egg, It's now a 1-up. So I would just run back through that thing, get 99 lives, and be like, all right, well, now I got nothing to worry about. Onward. Just hit that thing over and over again whenever I needed power-ups, whenever I was in trouble, whenever I need lives. But that was awesome to kind of discover as a kid, just learning about these secrets. And just having that sense of like, oh my god, I did a thing. I'm going to throw a Pokemon Yellow version up here as well, real quick, to round out the first 10, which is insane that I only did the first 10, but I guess we're getting into the thick of it now. Because Yellow version was great, Pikachu falling behind you. Obviously, you get a little bit of the lore, like the anime, where you recruit or find the rest of the starters, Bulbasaur, Squirtle, and Charizard. You fight Team Rocket. Great time with that. And I still have the original Yellow strategy guide, which I got from a friend. And that's kind of where I learned, like, oh, no, this is the levels around things are going to involve and when they're going to learn certain moves. Just read way too much into that strategy guide. All right, so let's go into the first console with PlayStation 2. And let's think about games there that on PlayStation 2 kind of resonated with me. So 007 Nightfire is one I'm going to throw in here. A lot of multiplayer madness in that one. Obviously, shout out to GoldenEye. Never owned GoldenEye, but I do remember it fondly for trips down to North Carolina and playing with cousins there. But Nightfire was my version of playing games with friends here. Whether it was just, a couple of us sitting around the TV. I remember getting a multi-tap and having 6 or 8 of us play at that at the same time at once. Maybe it was 4, because the PlayStation only had the 2 controller ports. So it must have been 4 of us. I don't think we were doing big enough parties to have 6 or 8. But having to get the multi-tap, getting the multi-tap to work so then you could do the multiple players. Yeah. That was a lot of fun. And then the different weaponry in there too. Like you had the snipers. You had one... No, I think both snipers were good. You had the RPGs, which one was heat-seeking, one wasn't. You had the briefcase that was a little machine gun turret in there. I remember messing around with my buddy John a bunch and his brother doing the tripwires. We would just do only tripwires and try and plant them for the CPUs to run into, and just plant them all different directions so the lasers were pointing that way. Oh crap, what was the level we always did? It wasn't Snowblind. It's like 2 houses, opposite ends, and then there's gondolas that just go around in this circle. We always played that one. Absolutely loved it. Just fighting the CPUs there. Such a great time. So yeah, Nightfire's got to get a shout out there. Let's get into the Sly Cooper franchise, shall we? Because that was a big one on PlayStation 2. Got the collection here. Perfect. Boop, boop, boop. Obviously, the collection was on PS3. But a great game. The whole series, 1 through 4. 1, 2, 3 obviously are a little bit more... They kind of stand above 4 a little bit. Obviously, 4 was a little bit of it was a different studio, Sanzaru Games, that made that one. But still good. But the first 3 had a nice tight-knit story that they told with Sly, with Bentley, with Murray, and the adventure that they were going on. Absolutely love those games. Sad we never got the movie that they were apparently doing with those. Sad it's been a franchise that's been kind of dormant for a while. I doubt they'll revisit it with... who did it originally? Was it Insomniac? I don't think it was. Whatever studio did make it originally, they're doing bigger and better projects. Sounds weird, but they've moved on, which makes sense. I mean, this was, 20 years ago at this point? So, fond memories. We still have the collection. We can play it at any time. But that was another one I played through on stream, had fun with. And that was kind of what my PlayStation 3 was for originally. For me, was like my collections. So they did a Sly collection, they did a Ratchet and Clank collection, they did a Jak and Daxter collection. And I didn't really explore much of the PS3 library, but that was that was pretty much what I used it for, was my collections and moving on. Sucker Punch. So yeah, Infamous they've worked on. And others. Of course, now I don't know. Hold on. Infamous. Ghost of Tsushima. Oh yeah, they're not they're not gonna visit the raccoon anymore. So yeah, that was a good one. So Sly Cooper, what else on PS2? Oh, okay, not PS2. Once again, I told you we're going to be jumping around and we're just getting to the thick of it. But Ape Escape. This was another one that I didn't own for the longest time. This was one I played at my uncle's house. He had a PlayStation 1, so whenever we visited him, I had the opportunity to play it there. And I had a lot of fun just running around catching monkeys. Now, guess what? My uncle didn't know how games worked, or at least some of them. This man didn't have a memory card. So every time I went over, it was a fresh start. Fresh start going through that. I think the farthest I made it at that point was like, I don't know, 5 levels in. And I think that was a decent gaming, like, I spent 6 hours playing it. But he didn't have a memory card, so unfortunately had to restart that every time. But that was a blast. Another one I went back to and played on stream, played that all the way through. There's a lot of monkeys that you got to catch. This series is one I haven't followed through, so as you can see on the left, there's quite a few sequels. But I haven't tried 2, 3, any of the other ones. It's just the nostalgia of one with Spike going through that journey, trying to stop. Oh, I don't remember your friend who's brainwashed. And then Scepter. I think that was the guy, the monkey's name, the evil monkey. Good times there. Let's take a little bit of a sidetrack back to PC World, because there's 2 games here I want to shout out. They were also on PS1, which made me think of this. But Bugs Bunny, Lost in Time series. So there were 2. Lost in Time was the first one. Played that on PC. But then there was also, what was the Taz one? Bugs Bunny and Taz. Let me just search that. But Lost in Time, you were just Bugs Bunny going through time, trying to stop the Looney Tunes villains. So you had Yosemite Sam, you had the Witch, you had Martin the Martian. I don't remember who was the last one. I think Daffy appeared periodically. But it was just this platformer. You'd go around, kick stuff. Time business? Time something? Time Busters. But both of those games are great. The second one added Taz, obviously. You had to work with him. You could swap between the characters, do different puzzles. Similar mechanic of going through time. You know, selfishly and honestly, these are games I would love to revisit. I know they're not going to look great, but just for the nostalgia kick of like, wow, yeah, this is exactly what I remember. I remember a lot of, in the first one with Yosemite Sam at the pirate area, doing those puzzles. The second one, I remember there was like this Mayan area that you time traveled to, and you did a little mini game to play that. I don't know what it's called, but you throw the ball through like the hoop, like basketball-esque style. I remember that. I remember playing hockey. But these games are a lot of fun. Yeah, I'd absolutely love to go and revisit those just for laughs, just to have a great time. But those 2 games, shout out to those. Those are fantastic. Like I said, they were on PS1, so there's a chance I could hunt them down and find them. But yeah, Pelota. Thank you. But yeah, absolutely nailed it out of the park with those. Let's see, what else? I'm trying to think that early, like I said, that early console, those early console days of the PlayStation 2 to see if anything stands out. And of course, there's going to be something like, oh my god, how did I forget about this? Like right now. We're going to put 2 Tony Hawks in here. First, we're going to put Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2. This was one I didn't own for the longest time until the remaster, actually. Another one that kicked ass. Played a lot of it at friends' houses. Enjoyed the crap out of it. Played a lot of Hanger. Played a lot of The School. Those are probably the 2 that we just kind of stuck with. Just doing the 2-minute time trials, doing graffiti. Graffiti was a great mode. Playing that over and over again. Ford racing and being pissed off that we couldn't progress there, or at least I couldn't. That was good memories. I don't know if that makes the list. But Pro Skater 2, a lot of good memories there. And then the first Tony Hawk I owned, and I think absolutely kicks ass, is Tony Hawk American Wasteland. We talked about it on stream quite a few times. I don't know if we've restreamed it because it's on 360. But with American Wasteland, just more of what you love with Tony Hawk. You know, if it's not broke, don't fix it in terms of gameplay. They did add a few different things. Like, I believe they added the ground manual tricks. They added the nada spins onto like posts and stuff that you could keep going with. But the story in here was a lot of fun because you had all these misfits. You just moved to town. They're lucky enough, or they're kind enough to take you in, and the main guy gets thrown into jail. You're just trying to raise money the entire time to get him out of jail. And in doing so, you're like, let's make a theme park. Or not a theme park, let's make a skate park. But it's essentially like all these broken things around Los Angeles that you're just taking and throwing in there. So there's like a T-Rex, there's Hollywood stars that you steal, there's casino materials that you take. But you, over time, build up this skate park and this essentially like trash dump. And seeing it progress throughout the game and then seeing the final product is very, very cool. You'd meet pro skaters and you kind of recruit them to your cause to do a fundraiser to get the guy out because they all have history with him. So you do like challenges for them and prove that you're a skater. It was a lot of fun. I would love a remake of that one too. Highly doubt it. What else? I guess we can come back to the PlayStation 2 era because nothing is really currently calling out to me. So let's jump over to the Xbox 360 era and let's talk about Halo. Everybody loved Halo. That was the big one at 360. Another big one, like I talked about with Nightfire earlier, multiplayer, local, online, the craziness of the like creative modes in Forge that people were making. Absolutely insane. Jumping into online, playing with a bunch of friends, good times there. Jumping into more current day with Extra Lives, doing 4 Xbox LAN parties of Halo, 4v4v4v4. Nuts. I wish we could do that again. I gotta look into fixing the 360s, but absolute insanity. Jumping into there, doing the kills, just insane. Now, like I said, we're gonna be jumping around. I think I just remembered a PC one, and of course it just escaped my head. Nope, I got it. What was it called? Jedi something. So there's a Star Wars game with Kyle Katarn making his appearance. I never got really far into it as a kid, but I do remember it being very, very good. It wasn't Jedi Academy. That was later, I believe. Ooh-wee. Jedi Knight? No. Maybe it is Jedi Knight. Crud. Yeah, it's gotta be Jedi Knight, because Jedi Knight 2 is right there. Yeah. Jedi Knight's right. Jedi Knight. What a great game. So you get Kyle Katarn. He's like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I got this gun. Pew pew. Gets a lightsaber from somebody. I don't recall the lore. And he's like, oh, okay, I guess I got this now. But you had different weapons. You had the lightsaber. You had the, like, normal, typical stormtrooper gun. You had a pistol. You had a crossbow from the Wookiees at some point. Going through there, jumping into that. You know what? I'm going to throw the second one in there as well because better graphics. It was a creative character. So, like, Kyle was now running the new Jedi Temple with Luke, and you're the new class of the Jedi. You could build your character to be good guy, bad guy, and then the part I probably played the most was just like the creative battles. You just go in there with computers battling it out with lightsabers and stuff. You could do it a little bit in the first one, or at least there was an online component with it, where I remember, once again, LAN party. I think Papa Griff and I played that a few times, where we tried to fight each other in Jedi Knight. Good times there. Good times there. I see some games here that I'm probably going to go back to in the list. I understand. But yeah, let's go back to Xbox 360. So we talked about Halo. Fantastic there. I talked about American Wasteland. That kind of made a resurgence, go back into the replay there. What else was there on 360? Far Cry 3, baby. Fantastic game, Far Cry 3. My first Far Cry, and arguably the best Far Cry. Great story there. Voss is a great villain. Not too much supernatural in there. Just you and a bunch of friends. You're on vacation. You get stuck. And now you got to get out of there. And poor Jason. Poor Jason just having to get out of there and going to the dark side. So Far Cry 3, shout out to you. And yes, Papa Griffin chat with a killer game. This is what I'm talking about. They just fucking, you don't remember them, and then you're like, oh my god, absolutely. Star Wars Battlefront kicked ass. And I'm talking about the original 2, not the new 2. Oh, such great times. Galactic Conquest. I remember Charlie and I playing that. I remember, just a bunch of us playing that. Going through the battles. Second one added the space battles. Flying around. Take the ships out. Go inside. You're trying to take the ship from the inside. It's too hectic in there. Yeah, Charlie playing it. I believe Papa Griffin and I played it. John and I playing it. Great times. Just what they did there. Taking Star Wars Battlefront 1, obviously focusing more on the episode 4, 5, 6, I believe. And then Star Wars Battlefront 2, they took the New Age, the prequels in there, throw them in there. You get the heroes in there, so you can use the Jedi and stuff. I don't think you could use them in the first one. Could be wrong. Man, great games. They tried with the new ones that just couldn't get the magic, unfortunately. I remember I played co-op once and I fell asleep on you. Oh, that's all right. I remember hanging out at Charlie's, and it was late at night when we were playing. He fell asleep too, and Versus like, okie doke. No worries there. So, just sticking on the Far Cry chain, we're jumping around. It's official. We're just going to think of whatever. But Far Cry 5 is another great one. I know this wasn't everybody's favorite, but personally, I loved Far Cry 5. I think Joseph Seed and his family were great villains. They had a great allure to them and made the situation tense with the whole religious cult type thing. I know some people weren't happy with the ending of it. It's been a while, so spoilers. Skip 30 seconds. So with the nuke going off, or the bomb going off, and you making the run for the bunker, I really enjoyed that because it was like, oh my god, we were so focused on this problem here that we didn't even pay attention to the outside world. So when that happens, it's like, Jesus. And apparently there's hints of it along the way. Really loved Far Cry 5. That's one I would probably go back to and play again. Not gonna lie, I've thought about playing 3, 4, 5 again. But yeah, loved 5. It was a little scary, definitely. I enjoyed that one a lot. Definitely did. Still need to jump into 6. Stupid backlog. So we're jumping around. We're hipping. We're hopping. Thinking about my Xbox days. Let's talk about Xbox One. Let's talk about some fighting games, because that's going to probably put 6 on this list. Killer Instinct. Xbox One. The reintroduction of Killer Instinct. I believe they just actually did a anniversary or new release recently where they did some updates and patches too. But this was one of the first ones where I was starting to get back into fighting games. And KI I had never played on the N64, never played on arcades, or at arcades rather. But this was a fun one. You had different characters. The move sets were, typical fighting games, quarter circles, half circles, the Shoryuken motions. But it was interesting because it wasn't like other fighting games where you could just get fucking your shit kicked in and just sit there and watch the other person do an infinite combo. You could play rock, paper, scissors. So if you could predict what your opponent was about to do as their next move, if you matched the button input of just X, Y, or B, if you matched it and called their bluff, rock, paper, scissors, whatever, you could break them out of their combo, and it was like this tug of war back and forth between each players, and it didn't feel as one-sided as other fighting games can feel. I'm going to look at you, Marvel vs. Capcom, even though I'm about to put you on this list. Killer Instinct felt cool, felt very high energy, and felt very fair in terms of like, oh, yep, I got caught with that one. But yeah, we shouted out. So yeah, Marvel vs. Capcom 2. That's the one going on here. I'm probably going to throw 3 on there as well. Not you, Infinite. But Marvel vs. Capcom 2 is my introduction to fighting games. We've talked about it many, many times before. Played this at the arcades. Papa Griff was very kind enough to humor me and play them with me. But just, I had no idea what I was doing. Mashing those buttons, playing as heroes that I recognized, Captain America, Spider-Man, Hulk. Just going in there, mashing the buttons, having a grand old time, getting my butt kicked by the CPU. Probably wasting many, many quarters. But even jumping back into it now, that crazy roster size with a wide variety of characters. Fuck you, ServBot, for being this tiny little thing. Had a blast with it, and that would kind of start off the fighting game spark for me in terms of like, I absolutely love these games. And that would lead to Marvel vs. Capcom 3, but then Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. I remember some family members being very kind enough to pre-order, I believe, Ultimate for me, and us playing that on launch day, playing that together. Once again, they had no idea, fighting game-wise, what they were doing, but me jumping into it, playing that with them, just a lot of fun. You had Galactus in here that you were fighting as your end boss, so that was fun to do. A little bit tough at times, but yeah, great games there. We tried to bring it back with Infinite, yeah, but we couldn't deliver, so nope. Let's stick on the fighting game train. Let's talk about Mortal Kombat. Let's talk about Mortal Kombat 10, or MKX. Where the fuck are you? Damn, you were far in this list. Boop. My first foray into Mortal Kombat. I had known about Mortal Kombat prior, but this was the first one I was actually hyped and excited for. Once again, shout out to Maximilian Dude, doing a lot of content, covering this game, doing his Assist Me series. This one I jumped into and absolutely loved. Loved the different variations with the characters that you could do, so you had to select them at the character select screen, but each character would have a set base moves, but then they would be slightly different in terms of like, oh, the alien does this, or the alien does this, depending on your variant. Excuse me. So it would change up your strategy. I'm going to throw XL in here. Whoa, not the whole list there, bud. Hey, stop it. There we go. XL, just because it's got the DLC in there. Fantastic game. You had a lot of the horror icon villains in there. So you had Leatherface, you had Predator, you had Alien, you had Jason. Good times there. A lot of fun. Shout out to TJ. Him and I put a decent amount of time in there and had some good matches back and forth. So shout out to that. I'd like to put MK11 in here in terms of story. But in terms of the game itself, I don't know if I can. And that's a tough one, because the story's really, really good, and it leads to Mortal Kombat 1 story, which I'm also debating putting in. But I don't know. Because the gameplay in 11, not the best. There's like one character I play as. The rest, it's hit or miss if they're interesting. I feel like XL or MKX, there's a lot more variety of like, oh, I can play this character, this character, this character, this character, and they're all fun. MK11 did not feel that way. MK01, I think, got closer to it, but that's another one I haven't played since I beat the story. But this is just my favorite games of all time. Yeah, I'll throw MK1 in here. Story. Starting at X, going to 1. It's a nice, cohesive story. Really enjoyed that. Continuing on our fighting game history. Not really history, but stuff. Dragon Ball FighterZ. That's not it. Really? You're not going to put flying in there. Uh-oh. Hold on. Dragon Ball Fighters. So this was taking what Marvel vs. Capcom did. The high energy gameplay, the assists, the tag-ins, tag-outs, and did it with Dragon Ball characters. What was the developer? It's the same guys who do Guilty Gear. Don't remember. But they did really good. Very exciting game. Once again, shout out to TJ and Alex. Yeah. 3 of us going back and forth playing this game, making each other better and better. Expect things, parry things, defend from things. A lot of fun. I know online with any of these games, I'm getting my ass kicked. But it's fun to play those locally. Shout out to MKXL again. Billy, John, and I playing that a bunch and having a lot of fun. It was a blast. Shout out to Dio as well with the fighting games, just helping us along the way, learn things, and get better. I don't think, unfortunately, any of the Street Fighters are going to go in there. I do like them a lot in terms of like the history of them and the character design. None of them have really clicked heavily with me, and I thought I thought Street Fighter 6 was going to be the turning point with that. Of like, oh, this is the one that clicks. It does a little bit. I do enjoy their like they create a character story. I haven't gone back to it and played it in quite some time. It just never got its hooks into me heavy, so I don't know if that will be something I follow in the future. Okay, if we're going to go back to PlayStation 2 era for a second and talk about fighting games, I'd be remiss if I didn't shout out Soul Calibur 2. There's 3. Where are you? Here you go. Soul Calibur 2 is another one I did not expect to like so much. I am trying to remember how I first got into it. It might have been my buddy John, but it's a 3D fighter, a lot of interesting characters. You had the fun story of they're all trying to hunt down the shards to make the Ultima weapon, which was the thing with the eyeball. But a good time there. That's probably the only 3D fighter was okay at. Tekken I'm going to die a lot to. This current Soul Caliburs I'm going to die a lot to. And probably any other 3D fighters. Yeah, just not great at. I can't understand what's going on. Soul Calibur 2 definitely deserves a shout out of like something I played a lot during that time. Okay. What else do we have for our 360 friends? I'm trying to think of real big standouts from that. Okay, it's not it's not 360 era, but you know, whatever. Really, you're not going to give it to me because I didn't do a hyphen. But X-Men Legends. This is going to lead to another chain of like games that we're going to add to this list. But X-Men Legends on PlayStation 2, fantastic. I did enjoy X-Men Legends 2, but not as much. This was another one I got stuck at for the longest time because the stupid tanks and the frozen tundra killing me over and over again. But I enjoyed this one because, once again, wide variety of cast that you could unlock. You had a new character, Magma, who you were following her story and seeing how her journey evolved. It wasn't you were stuck in her perspective, though. You could play as any of the X-Men. So I think you started off with like Wolverine, Cyclops, Storm, Jean Grey, Beast? Maybe. But over time, you would unlock more. Gambit eventually joined your party, Rogue, others. But really enjoyed that. Upgrading the different characters, unlocking like classic suits and their challenge modes, upgrading them, making them more powerful. You could play it with friends if you wanted to in like 2 to 4 player co-op, which was great. Wow, we have dropped a lot of frames and I don't know why. Sorry about that. But yeah, great time there. This also leads to Marvel Ultimate Alliance, which was X-Men Legends on like acid, because you got all of the Marvel heroes in there. This one was one I rented like constantly from Hollywood Video at the time. Absolutely loved it. It was another one where just seeing who you could unlock along the way. There's characters you could miss, but I remember like if you collect so many action figures, you could get Blade, you could get Ghost Rider. Eventually you could get I think Moon Knight wasn't in this one. He was in the second one. I don't know. But with this one, it was its own original story. You went to a wide variety of places. As a kid, me learning about a wide variety of casts and characters that I had no idea who they were, like a Loki, like a Winter Soldier, characters who are more common name now, but learning about these characters then and just being amazed. Ultimate Alliance 2 was great as well. And I'm going to throw it in here because it was still fun, but it focused heavily on the Civil War storyline and didn't have as much of a fun discovery element as I feel the first one did. This one was more, not cut and dry, that sounds bad, but in terms of that. Third one was fun as well. I don't think that's going to make the list, unfortunately, here. But yeah, good times there. Let's see. Let us see. What about those big bulky dudes coming to the ring to Saliva? It's not a fighting game, but you're going to open the wrestling door at some point. Got to bounce to this really good. Can't wait to watch the rest. Good night. All right, thanks for hanging out, Papa Griff. See ya. Yes, Papa Griff with the wrestling. Let's get into the wrestling games. So, WWE games. Now, I'm not going to lie. When it comes to the year-to-year stuff, I'm not going to remember specifically like, oh, this was really good here. There will be a couple I shout out from time to time. So I am going to shout out 2009. 2009, they added a lot of tag team mechanics in here. So that was exciting. And they also added the ECW brand. We still had the GM mode at the time. So now you had that third option brand. Still getting creamed by the CPU in their, decisions in the gameplay there. But that one was really good with 2009. I'd also like to put, he talked about the big bulky guys. Where are you? WWE All-Stars. Heavily arcade heavy. You're just juggling motherfuckers like nobody's business. Everybody's yacked out of their mind like it's the 80s and steroids, but like 10 times worse. Enjoyed that one for the comical aspect of the multiplayer. The story mode, not so great in terms of unlocking the alternate costumes for some people. Wish I had a bigger roster. I really, really was hoping when they did, Battleground? Battlegrounds? No, just Battleground. I was really hoping that one would have been like an All-Stars 2. It had the potential. There was no fun factor, unfortunately, in it. And they had the big cast of characters in the more modern day, but it just missed. It missed hard, and it's too bad. I will shout out 2K for when they jumped into it and took over. There's one I'm thinking in particular where they did like all the WrestleManias. Like your showcase mode was, I think it was each of the 30 WrestleManias, like a match from each. I believe it was a 2K game. I'm staring at 13, but I don't think it was that. No, because 14, when did 2K take over? Let's be smart. We have the internet. Let's see. WWE. 2K games. When did it start? When did it start? When did it start? Boop. Let's see. Games list. List of WWE 2K games. So 2K took over in... Man, you were killing me, Wikipedia. 12. No? 12? 2K series. 14. God damn it. So they took over in 14. So when 2K took over, that first one was very, very good. I'm trying to find the one where they did a WrestleMania. It was some anniversary. I think I have to go into each one individually. I'm sorry, this is going to take a while. So 13 had Attitude Era mode, so they had a lot of Attitude Era superstars, so that's cool. But I don't think that's the one I'm looking for. Nope. Was it 12? Exhibition, Universe, Road to WrestleMania. It is 12. Yep. WWE 12 consists of a single storyline taking place over 18 months of WWE... Wait, nope. No, that's a lie. That was the introduction of Road to WrestleMania. Fuck. Never mind. Never mind. It wasn't that. God damn, the search continues. Great, sweet. It was 2K's game. 30 years of WrestleMania. It recreates nearly 3 decades of WWE history, similar to WWE 13's Attitude Era mode. 30 years of WrestleMania spans 45 matches centered around various superstars, alternate gimmicks, and the use of classic WWE footage across every WrestleMania up to 29. So 2K, your first entry was a banger with 14. With Dwayne on the cover, so that's what you're going to get. So, really enjoyed that one. That was great. I am also going to selfishly throw in 2K22 because GM mode made its return. Pop! And it's great. Yeah, Papa Griff and I played many hours of GM mode, both on our own and together, and I'm just looking forward to more and more, improvements on this mode. We talked about it last year, what we were hoping for 23s. Guess what? I'm going to be doing it again for 23 into 24, hoping to see what they improve. But I think we're off to a good start, especially after that mess up with 20. Looking forward to more down the line. So, we got our wrestling games in there. Yeah, that's a good chunk there. So, what else do we have? For some reason, the 360 era is really just crapping in my mind, but I will give a shout out to Red Dead Redemption, which was a surprise hit for me because I have no idea how I even got introduced to this. I just remember having it. Having it, loving it. The story was great. The open world, obviously the GTA aspects of it. And then the online mode. Charlie, once again, shout out to him. Just playing the online mode there, chasing after a man who had a zebra mount. Good times. Speaking of Grand Theft Auto, we'll shout out San Andreas, my first Grand Theft Auto. Playing that with Charlie, co-op mode, or rather 2-player. Unfortunately, you could only be in a certain, realm or area with each other before you, launched or just couldn't go farther. But that was a lot of fun. Obviously, GTA 5 was fun. I don't know if that would make the list for favorites. But San Andreas, I got some fond memories there. All right, so we're 4 rows through, right, Moose? So we should go a bit more rapid fire. So let's think about more current day stuff that we absolutely love. I would be silly to not include a Smash Bros. In here. I'm going to throw in the 64 version. I'm also going to throw in... Brawl holds a special place in my heart just because that was my first one I owned. I didn't have many Nintendo consoles of my own as a kid. I think the Wii was my first. So you know what? I'm going to throw Brawl in there. I'm going to throw Ultimate in there just because of how crazy that game is with everybody being in there. But that was a great one. Speaking of the Nintendo Wii Sports. Of course, Wii Sports. Stupid and silly. Just the boxing, the bowling, the tennis, the golf, the baseball. Simplistic fun. Amazing time with family and friends playing that. I haven't played whatever they made for the Switch. Whatever that one is. I don't think that one obviously blew up as much as the sports did for the original Wii, but great times there. A lot of fun to be had. Let's think more modern. And let's throw in the God of Wars in here. Let's see. I did play 1, 2, 3 of the originals, but I think we got to throw in God of War 1 from, what was that, 2016? 2018? Yeah, and Ragnarok in there. Fantastic games. Great narrative. Good story between the two of them. Emotional storyline between the two of them. Good times there. Speaking of more recent stuff, as Moose is yelling at me, yes, I will put Spider-Man. We'll put Spider-Man in there. I think I'm just going to put the second one in, to be honest. We streamed that recently. Is it not on the top of the list? How is it not on the top? But yeah, Spider-Man 2 just built on top of everything that the first game and Miles did. But for me, it just delivered on a whole nother level. Are you serious it's not on here? How the hell is it not on here, Moose? I'm looking right at it, probably. Or did not update their list? There it is. That's weird. I don't know. I didn't pop up before. But Spider-Man 2 hit me on an emotional level. That was a great one. With all the additions they had there. Trying to think of other things that like really hit hard for me in terms of like that was a really good game. Why am I blanking? Was 100 too much? Probably. Probably. And then there's also other stuff. I'm like, oh, I'm probably forgetting this. Oh, I'm forgetting that. Let's see, what's stuff on... Okay, Call of Duty. I know it's not faux pas, but a lot of memories of the Modern Warfare series. I'm going to throw Modern Warfare 2, and I'm going to throw Black Ops in there. Black Ops for its zombie mode. Story mode is really good, too. Fighting out of the chair, doing the whole, story mode with, oh crap, what is this? The Numbers Mason, that guy. And then Modern Warfare 2, a lot of hours put into that, a lot of bad gameplay on my part, but just a lot of fun had, a lot of laughs to be shared. Charlie and I playing together side by side on our own consoles for a long time, playing online. I know they just released those maps for the most recent Modern Warfare 3, which is weird. Cool to see those remastered and put those back in there. But the original Modern Warfare 2, fantastic times of that. And like I said, the zombies mode, I always loved like trying to do the Easter eggs or the walkthroughs. I think the space level is one of the DLCs. I can't remember it, but I think that was the one I made the farthest in with the lunar landers, doing all of those. Excuse me, and figuring out those puzzles. That always intrigued me, and that's something I would definitely watch more and more of. And, obviously the zombie mode has gotten more interesting. Like, Black Ops 2 had a lot of interesting maps. It's just, unfortunately, I don't know if it must be in terms of the technology, but Black Ops 1, at least if you died and finished, you would jump right back into it. It would load you right at the beginning, at the start. I believe with Black Ops 2, it kicked you out to, like, a matchmaking like lobby, and to me it's not the end of the world. It was just like I want to jump right back into it, so to have to reload everything, go back into it with that was a little unfortunate. I will throw Black Ops 2 in here. I think I am going to do that for its creativity with the different stories that they were telling with each of them. Like I know one was with like a monster downstairs with like candy, George or something like that. Or no, George was in the first one with the Hollywood studio. He was the actor, or not the actor, the director. The second one, I don't remember the guy's name. Billy would know better than I. But he had a fun mechanic there. So we're halfway through. Yikes. All right. You know what? For the sake of time, because I know we're going long, we're going to bump this down to 70. There you go. Sorry about that, everybody. So we got those in there. What else? Moose. We got to shout out Fortnite. Lady and I have poured way too many hours into that game. Not that we thought we would pump the hours into there, but I'd be lying to say if that wasn't up there for one of my favorite games of all time, just with the amount of time that we put into it, the amount of fun we had with it, just the amount of content they have poured into that game. Obviously not without its flaws, but Fortnite's a great one. Absolutely love playing it. And then a more recent one as well in terms of the mobile side of things. I'll throw Marvel Snap in there. Didn't think that one was going to capture me as well as it did, but it certainly has. Lots of fun playing that one, trying to figure out good card combos, what works, what doesn't work. And then obviously like any collectible type game, just trying to collect the cards, upgrade them, get variants, get certain ones, and go from there. Let us see. Trying to think of something. Oh, okay. I saw it earlier and I didn't throw it in here. But Jedi Fallen Order has to go in here. That was another one I kind of had a little bit of an emotional response of like, this is so much fun and rewarding. And I don't even think I'm that big of a Star Wars fan, but this one it resonated with me. Getting the different lightsaber styles as you went along, the single blade, the double blade, the dual blade, and then being able to customize your blade at the very, very end was insane. The Jedi Survivor, for what I've played of it, I'm really enjoying as well. And to have even more customization options, which I'm not playing around with too much in terms of Cal and BD1, but your sabers, you can do that all at the beginning, and you still have all your lightsaber like stances, or rather the styles. It just is crazy, and I'm really happy that they're putting a lot of TLC into those games. And speaking of Respawn Entertainment, which has worked on Fallen Order and stuff, Apex Legends has to go in here. I haven't played it in a while, and I miss it. I want to jump back into it. But Apex was another battle royale, which once again took a lot of time out of my day to play. Not in a bad way, but dumped a lot of hours into there, learning the different characters, playing with Papa Griff, playing with TJ, just playing online with randos. Just one of those things you can turn your brain off and jump into, dive into, and enjoy. Absolutely loved it. Speaking of turning your brain off, as we talked a few episodes ago, but Borderlands 2, I've enjoyed my time with the series as a whole. Borderlands 1, special place just because that's where it kicks it off. Borderlands 2, I believe, is where, personally, it got so much better because they learned about their comedy, learned what kind of story they were trying to tell and what world they were trying to build in terms of the insanity. Pre-sequel, Borderlands 3, for me, maybe worth a retry. But the characters they have involved here, from the original cast to the new characters in Borderlands 2, to Handsome Jack being a great villain. Loved it there. Had a great time. I'm going to put one in here that I haven't thought about in a while, but it was one of our original stream games, but Wolf Among Us. This is one my buddy Nolan told me about, and it's essentially a choice-based game based off the fables, like comics and lore, so like your Wolfman, Snow White, Beauty and the Beast, stuff like that. It was a lot of fun. This might be worth a replay, because I remember playing it on PC, and at the time my PC was not that great, so it was chugging along in terms of stream quality, but I remember the story a little bit out of here. I remember it resonating a lot, and those choices being like, I can't believe that was what happened, or this happened. And with talks of a second one coming out, might not be a bad idea to jump back into this one and see what does actually happen. If we're going to talk about choice-based games that also resonated heavily. Life is Strange. I was late to the party with Life is Strange. I think I didn't play it until the 4th episode was already out, so I was able to boop, 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 hit it all there. And then the 5th episode had rolled out by the time we finished, or we waited till all 5 episodes were out when we started it. I don't recall. It's been 8 years. But the emotional journey, like, I went through, and then the chat went through, like, especially with some of them knowing, oh, this is episode 2, this is when this is going to happen, is he going to be able to handle it and whatever, and then me saving the day, like, they were so happy and we're all excited about stuff. That was great, very rewarding, so I really appreciated that. Unfortunately, I didn't like Life is Strange 2 as much, and I haven't tried True Colors, but 1 was something special. 1 really resonated with me and was a fun game to go through. I'm gonna shout out Horizon Zero Dawn, another more modern game, but I just really like the atmosphere of this one, or the storytelling aspects of it, of like the future dino robots, and then the not prehistoric but really early age people, like using the bow and arrows, using the tripcasters to take down these giant robots, and figuring out what is actually going on in this world and why things are the way they are. I need to jump back into Forbidden West and see how the story continues as Aloy continues her journey west to figure out what happens. But Zero Dawn was great. Really enjoyed that one. I didn't beat it, but I'm going to throw Sekiro in here. Sekiro's another one that I need to go back to, dive into. I'm not great at the Soulsborne likes, the hard difficulty, the parries, that mechanics. But I feel like Sekiro is one that's really resonating with me in terms of like, well, I made it the farthest. But it's a really cool world where it's that samurai world, feudal Japan, but also has that high fantasy elements of like, whoa, some of these villains are really messed up and creepy, or like out of this world. And it was a really fun world to explore. Like I said, I'd like to try it again and dive into it, with this being the Soulsborne I've made it the farthest into. I'd like to see if I can be patient enough with myself and be persistent enough to finish it and see it all the way through. At least for me, it'd be like, yeah, I did beat one of those. But Sekiro was a great time, and had a really cool world that it had involved with it. So that one's going to be up there for me, even though I didn't beat it. Still holds a spot in there. What else do we have going for us here? I'm trying to think back. I mean, I'm looking at the list now too, and I'm like really trying to think of like, what did I miss, or what big games here, because I know it's like any recording. It's going to be right after I'm done and be like, ah, shit, I didn't put this game. God damn it. This one, that one, the other thing. Or someone's going to call me out on it and be like, yep, you're right. I totally missed XYZ. Let's give some indie love. Some indies. I'm trying to think of some ones that really hit hard there. Ooh, okay. Let's go the music route. Guitar Hero 2. Guitar Hero 2. You know what? I'm going to put 3. I like 3 better. Guitar Hero, obviously, swept the nation. Everybody loved it. Scoop. Oh, shit. I got rid of, fuck, what was there? Sekiro. I got rid of Sekiro. Hold on. Let me fix that. Guitar Hero 3 was great. Through the Fire and Flames, baby. Got to finish with that one. So Guitar Hero 3, sticking with the musical theme, I had... Uh-oh. What was it? What was it? It was more modern day. Okay, this wasn't what I was thinking, but Beat Saber is fantastic as well. And I've only kind of scratched the surface with that one, with the PlayStation VR. Like, I haven't done... I think they have Linkin Park DLC out now for VR2 and some other licensed acts, but obviously PC guys, you go nuts with what you're doing there. Shout out to Minecraft. Many hours lost there. Another one where I feel like I'm only scratching the surface. Not doing any mods on PC or exploring what that realm of like the gaming there has to even offer. Ooh. How could I not remember the Batman Arkham series? Absolutely stunning. Absolutely loved it. And I think I have to put all three here. So, I could just do the Arkham collection. Yeah, we'll cheat. So that's all three. Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, Arkham Knight. Absolutely loved it. Shout out to the prequel, Arkham Origins. Arkham Origins was also very good too, but I think those three from Rocksteady, just insane. I'm still trying to think of this other musical one that I thought of before even Guitar Hero. What the hell could it have been? Oh, yeah. More recent. And I was thinking indie. But Metal Hellsinger. I really enjoyed Metal Hellsinger. I think that game does not get enough credit. Great soundtrack. A lot of fun trying to time your shots with the rhythm mechanics. So added a fun twist there. Alright, we got 6 left for our 70. Sorry, it's not your 100. Trying to think of what else is in here. What games resonated or took a lot of hours in the best way to play? Or did I really enjoy? I guess that's just the main thing. What games did I really, really enjoy? Give a shout out to Assassin's Creed. Not the first one. I mean, obviously the first one's where it started. I'm going to give a shout out to Odyssey. Because that one... Oh, crap. Did I spell that wrong? Because that one we really enjoyed on stream. Running around the open world mechanic of it. Another one I need to get back to because I didn't beat, but granted it's like a 100-hour game. Plus, if you're going to do everything. But that one was a lot of fun. I also really enjoyed Brotherhood. But does that earn a spot on the list? I'm not sure if it does. Yeah, I don't think it does. What else? Oh, okay. This one's another throwback. Speaking to my uncles and not having a memory card. Spyro's Ripto's Rage was another one I played a lot at his house and restarted a lot because of the no saves. That was another one I had like a decent 6 to 8 hour chunk of game time where I just played straight because I couldn't save it. And I was like, I want to see how far I can get into this before we have to stop playing. So shout out to that one. Is there any racing games that really stick out to me? Mario Kart's been fun. There was a Looney Tunes racing game I remember in the past that was fun. Crash, not the first Crash Racer, but the one that was on PS2 I played a lot of. I don't think those make it. See, I'm trying to think once again of indies or something around there to see if that rings any bells. Four left. What am I missing? And I thought I was going to do 100. Sorry, I know I keep bringing that up. Pokemon Stadium was a lot of fun. Yeah, you know, I'm going to put Pokemon Stadium in there. I think I'm going to put the second one in there just because of the second gen. But I really liked it for the mini games. I wasn't great at the battling, but the mini games were fantastic. The one with oh crud, the you got to count how many Pokemon are running across the screen, and Lady and I always make fun of it, but the computers are like like 10, like hit 20 in a panic at the end of it because they don't know what they were supposed to be counting. Pokemon Stadium's another good one that holds a spot in my heart. Three left. Trying to think. What am I missing? Too many games. There's gotta be something obvious. There's gotta be three something obviouses. Trying to think more current once again. What's something I've played recently that I'm like, yeah, that's really good. Wow. Isn't it crazy? Like, there's so many options out there for games. And I'm always like, oh my god, my backlog is giant. Like, and somehow now there's this giant brain fart of like, I can't think of anything. What do you mean? I'm gonna cheat. Not really cheat. But I'm gonna look at stuff I played recently. But Neon White was another one I loved. The speed running aspect of it, I never thought I would be engaged with. But that was one that you could just go rinse, repeat, jump back into, dive back into quickly, and absolutely loved it. I'd love to go for that platinum, but it seems like it's going to take 8 years to do. So I don't know if I'll ever do that. But that was definitely one up there. Hades. I wanted my indie representation. Hades. Another one. I was absolutely late to the party. Everybody's like, this game is great. You're going to love it. Everybody loves it. It's so much fun. And boy, were they right. The hook of it, the loop, the roguelite aspect, which I believe was one of my first introductions to the series, or rather, the genre. Absolutely loved it. Loved running through it. Another one I'd like to platinum. It's just a matter of like time. But played through that game twice. Fresh on stream. Great times with Hades. Very much looking forward to the second one. So one more game that I need to think about. And what will it be? Games of the years. Let's see what 2022. Ooh, I got some good ones there. Shout out to the Guardians of the Galaxy game. That was great. Deathloop was a lot of fun. Sifu was fun but challenging. I really enjoyed Cult of the Lamb and Nobody Saves the World. Gotham Knights was fun, but I don't know if it goes up there. Oh, wow. Okay. The last one's a shooter. It's team-based. I have to put it in here just because the amount of hours I put into there and the amount of fun I had. But Overwatch. Overwatch consumed me for a while. Never got super competitive, never had a 6-man team or anything like that, but there was a lot of time I put into Overwatch. Widowmaker, Lucio, Ashe, those being the main three I would play. Just loved playing that game. I liked the randomness of the loot boxes. I know everybody had their difference in opinions on them. But unlocking the different stuff. Was excited for Overwatch 2. Jumped into it. It was more the same. Obviously, everything had that nice, fresh coat of paint. We had some new heroes. And when the team just said, hey, we're not doing the single player stuff anymore, it was heartbreaking. It was like, what was the point? I know it was a free upgrade to the Overwatch 2 servers. I get it. It's not like I lost out on any money. But man, it was so disappointing because they're such cool characters. There is a cool story that they tell here and there in the in-betweens, similar to Apex. But to take away the opportunity for us to do that and play through those experiences just sucked. So Overwatch 2 doesn't make it, but Overwatch 1, I would be remiss if I didn't at least give it a nod here, say it was one of my favorite games for a time period. But yeah. So yeah, everybody, there's 70. I know I didn't make it to 100. I do apologize. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this little trip down nostalgia. Let me know what I missed or what you think I missed, because obviously there's a lot I haven't played. And yeah, who knows? Maybe down the road we'll revisit this and add to that the rest, or at least be like, oh yeah, we forgot this one. Oh yeah, I forgot that one. Whatever it is. But I had a lot of fun going through this, the nostalgia trip of like, man, these were great games. A lot of good times to be had. But guys, this has been another episode of the Wait, What Are We Talking About podcast. My name is Bret, aka Enigma9011. You can catch the podcast live over on twitch.tv/Enigma9011. You can drop a follow over there. You'll get notified when we go live. You drop in on the fun and chaos of the conversation with us as we record. But if you can't catch it live, that's A-OK. Go over to YouTube and podcast services. The very next week, we're broken out topic by topic and put as one big video and MP3 for your amusement on the following Friday. Last but not least, any way you can support the show, like, subscriptions, shares, reviews, whatever it is. It may seem small, but does help the channel grow, so you could help us with that. We would love and appreciate you for it. Appreciate you guys hanging out today for the Extra Life Talk for the game Nostalgia. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.